Welcome into IRONPROS TV. We're here at Wacker Neuson in Menominee Falls, and we're here with John Dotto, a product specialist here at Wacker Neuson. And today we're going to be talking about skid steers and compact track loaders, the awesome machines that they have in those categories here at Wacker. John, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for coming out, Wayne.
No problem, dude. This has been so much fun. And so you guys entered this market in 2014. Obviously relatively a new entrant to the market, but there's some advantages to that, some disadvantages to that. Take us through kind of what you guys have learned over the last 8 years.
Advantage to coming into the market in a very mature market in 2014 is we got to look at all the history, things that happened before we came with the North American machine. Also, prior to building the North American machine, we actually did build a European skid steer loader in our Linz, Austria excavator factory. Right. So we had a little bit of history with building skid steer loaders. What we decided as an organization was, we were coming into North America looking for dealers, and we had the whole grocery store except for the bread and milk. So now we have bread and milk because most of the market for a skid steer compact track loader is right here in North America. When we selected a partner for an engine and after treatment system, the entire machine was designed around the need for the after treatment system.
Yeah,
so
right.
We weren't trying to take an old chassis, put more equipment into it, meaning the after treatment parts.
Yeah.
And so what we have is a real clean design relative to what else you might see out there in the market.
What kind of things that are happening today are motivating the changes and improvements you're making?
The number one thing that motivates anything we do is customer feedback. What are our customers looking for? So a great example of what's changed and what continues to change is some of the functionality that we have with the electric over hydraulic controls.
Right. Yeah.
So Gen 1 was a pilot controlled machine. Then we launched our medium frame Gen 1 in 2016 with EH controls, and then in 19, when we go the full lineup on the same platform, everything's now electrical or hydraulic. And what that allows us to do is listen to customer feedback and introduce features through things like software updates as opposed to mechanical changes.
Absolutely.
So over the past few years, we have offered up automatic ride control, auto idle, different adjustabilities that you can make with the controls themselves in terms of sensitivity and responsiveness. So now all of that's available at your fingertips and through a software update. So, and we've got another one coming out here. We're trying to do them about once a year. We're not trying to burden customers, dealers with multiple updates throughout the year. We do try to package them into one update per year, and we're making it pretty worthwhile to get your machine into service, to get hooked up to Wanda, which is our Wacker Neuson diagnostic tool, and make the software update, because we have given you extra features. It's not like we're just having you come in for service just to come in. We're giving you something with the update.
With the ride control, tell us a little bit about how the skid steer in particular benefits.
The ride control system that we have is an automatic ride control. So what it is there's two ways you can do that. You can do it either load-based or speed-based. We do a speed-based automatic ride control. So when you reach a certain speed threshold, the ride control funks on, and now you've got that loader arm stabilization. So, and if you're trying to understand what does ride control do, I make an analogy to a cup of coffee in your pickup truck. So with ride control turned off, I'm taking that full hot cup of coffee, I'm putting it in the cup holder of the truck, and I'm letting the chassis tell me what's going to spill and what not. With ride control, I'm holding my cup of coffee while I'm driving down the road, and I'm allowing the loader arm to kind of keep me from spilling. So that's what's happening over there. And I do think that the rubber tire machine does tend to benefit from that system a little bit more so than the CTLs.
There's just several features to this undercarriage that really kind of display the thoughtfulness that you guys had and into the approach of really trying to think about how this machine was going to be used, where it was going to be used, the types of customers that were going to be putting it to work.
There's no suspension here. So what happens with suspension undercarriage systems is, especially when you're trying to cut a grade perfectly, those machines want to squash under load. The suspension is doing what it's supposed to do. However, for certain dirt work applications, you don't want the machine to be dictating what's happening. You want to be grading by the seat of your pants. And so the Dozer style undercarriage, you can achieve that. A couple other things we wanted to do with the undercarriage system is just make sure that the components we were using are of the highest quality. So all the steel rolling components come from Berco, starting at the dual flange front idler. And hey, I just happen to have a little prop right here.
Look at that.
The nice thing about the dual flange front idler is that the idler rides on both sides of these roller guides. So what you have here is a cross section of a steel embedded rubber track with these steel embeds and some steel cording. If you're running a single flange on that front idler, all of your forces are on a very narrow footprint.
Right.
And they're also riding over actual steel.
Sure.
Here we're riding on the rubber portion of the track. So a couple things we get from that is some stability from the width of the system, quiet, less vibration because of the way that it's riding. But then the question you're going to ask is, well, what about the single in the rear? What's happening back there?
Yeah,
well, what we've decided to do is, when you're driving forward, which is mostly what you're doing, you're shedding material back. Basically, your track becomes a conveyor system. So you're taking dirt and debris and you're shedding it back to that rear idler. The forces are really, really great. So when that sprocket pulls that track over that rear idler, we want the material to be able to shed away and not basically get crushed like a rock crusher back there. So we do have a combination of dual and triple flanges on the rollers. And then up here on the drive motor, what we use is a Rexroth T-Series drive motor. It's a direct drive system. So there's hydraulic hoses going into that drive motor, but it's not a planetary gear system. So because it's not a planetary, it makes a little bit less noise. It also doesn't have a gear oil interval. There's a lot less maintenance on this type of system. So we just like it. It's sort of beautifully simple is how I would describe it.
Obviously, serviceability is huge on these machines. Kind of take us through you guys' philosophy.
Because we came in at 2014 and we understood the need for basically space for the after treatment system, we were able to design an engine compartment and a whole system that was really meant to be easily serviced. Should we take a look at the SW32?
Absolutely.
And essentially you're going to see the same setup in all of our loaders. Now this one is a 100 horsepower machine, so it does have a depth tank on it, but really everything you see in here for the most part is the same across the lineup. Because we made the allotment for the space that the after treatment system that was going to take up, we have the ability to make sure that all of our other critical components have lots of room. And this one right here is about as congested as it gets, and you can see that you're still really easily able to get to all of your main control units.
Absolutely.
So from your dual battery, your air cleaner, this one has an exhaust scavenger system on it, your radiator that flips up and out of the way, your main valve block is right here. I can touch the main valve. This one has one-way hydraulic self-leveling. It's got ride control on it. It's got the depth tank. So this thing's loaded up and you can still see that there's a ton of daylight in there. So serviceability was critical to our design. And we wanted to make sure that if you're gonna run our equipment, chances are, especially on skid steer CTLs, a lot of customers are working on their own machines. So we wanted to make it easy for you to keep them up from a service standpoint and also clean them out.
If you need any more information, definitely check out wackerneuson.com, but also check out IRONPROS.com, where you can take a look at the entire lineup, every single machine in the skid steer and CTL lineup from Wacker Neuson. You can compare specs, you can watch videos, take a look at photos, everything that you need to smartly research your next machine purchase. Thank you again for watching. Thanks again to John, and we'll see you in the next one.